Kathy Thomas, acupuncturist extraordinaire. How are you doing today?
I am awesome, thank you. How are you?
Doing okay. I
All
see
right.
I found this stage set for a Legally Blonde musical, and I decided that I was going to use it today. So
Nice, nice.
here we are. There's a robe, but I don't think I should wear it. I don't know. All right. So a couple questions about being an acupuncturist. This is like I believe from what I've read, it's an ancient form of Eastern medicine, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I was wondering what inspired you to become an acupuncturist?
Well, me personally, and probably about, I'd say at least maybe a third to a half of the class that I was in school with, personal experience. I found it as a patient first. And, well, needless to say, I got a little bit excited about it and left the dental field, went back to school, and I decided it's something I must do. I mean, if it benefited me to the extent that it did, I've got to do this for other people.
You used to be in the dental field.
Yes.
Do you find does acupuncture, does it help with dental issues?
To some extent, yes. I mean, if it's a matter of like pain from tooth decay, we can get you out of pain for the moment, but of course you're going to have to go to the dentist and get the decay taken care of because I can't fix that. We can give you kind of the equivalent of an herbal antibiotic to get rid of, some of the, infection in the tooth. If you can't get into your dentist right away, we can manage the pain. Yes, that's awesome. We can do that. Things like, TMJ, jaw joint issues, stress, grinding, trigeminal neuralgia, things like that. I'll see that a little more often, but I don't tend to see tooth aches per se. Maybe after you've had an extraction and you've got that post-surgical pain. Sure.
Excellent. Okay. You said it, and I'd never even thought about that being a thing, because I know that acupuncture is a full body experience. It can be at least a full body healing experience. So I
Definitely.
always forget the mouth is part of everything. It's the first form of digestion, right? So,
Oh my goodness, yes.
hey, all right. So interesting. So, you said that you found it as a patient.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask you what your greatest success story with a patient was, but I'm wondering if maybe, I don't know. I kind of would like to know what your greatest experience with a patient was. That's what actually, yeah, that's kind of.
Ooh. Well, there's several, each a little bit different, but each very meaningful to me. I mean, one of my earlier big successes in my book was someone who was basically having some issues, both with pain and internal issues. Their next course of action was basically to stop working and pursue medical treatment full time. You know what I mean? To see if they can find somebody to manage what they had going on. So they were very motivated to get well, very motivated, that is, to get well right away. And surprisingly, just a couple weeks in, they were like, okay, I don't know what happened here, but I'm feeling much better. It's, I mean, to hear someone say that they were literally going to quit their job and basically pursue medical care full time, that's crazy.
Yeah.
One particular, I like it when people trust me with others, with people they love. I mean, there's someone I see, next thing you know, I'm seeing 4 generations of that family and some significant others. I think that's pretty amazing. There's things, situations where people are like, okay, I can't believe I spent all this time, all this money, hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars on all these treatments, and you were able to fix me so quickly. Sometimes it makes me wonder if I should be charging a little more. No, just kidding. But when I hear people say, it took, about $6,000 worth of laser treatments that really didn't do anything, and then, a couple sessions with you, and what? Why didn't I do this earlier? That's pretty cool. I love that. even more recently, and this one, wow, I was making an appointment for someone who told me on the phone, if you can get my pain level down to a 9, we'll call that a win. It's like, down to a 9, down to a 9, and we'll call that a win. I think we did a little more than that today. They were quite happy. I mean, we're not done by any means, but I love a good start, and that was kind of a heart tugger. I'm just a softie. What can I say?
No, that's great. I mean, that's a sign of a great healer, right? I think that's beautiful. So I wonder, this is a little off book, okay? But so I'm assuming, do you get a lot of people who have just tremendous pain and have kind of fallen into the opiate addiction? Have you ever been able to help people at least get to a point where they can reduce drastically the consumption of those things?
Yes, yes. And I said that's always a goal of mine, because not only the addiction factor of the prescription drugs, but even the recommended safe daily dose of the over-the-counter things, the aspirins, the Tylenols, the ibuprofen, acetaminophen, etc. It's not a matter of if, but it is a matter of when you're going to find liver damage, kidney damage, stomach, digestive trouble as a result of the side effects from that. But saying that now brings one person to mind, someone who was suspected to have the early stages of dementia, and it turns out they were just morphined into a fog, a brain fog, you know what I mean? Managing their pain to the point where they could really cut back and go on some of the more mild painkillers instead of being on this constant morphine. It's like, oh, wait a minute, that's not dementia, that's not senility, it's medication brain, It's little things.
Yeah, that's I wish I could go into this a little bit more, but that's a huge the that the opioid pandemic has been a huge part of my life since I was very young, for many reasons, not for necessarily tremendous negative personal reasons, but family related reasons. And I'll tell you, that's incredible. I've never had acupuncture. I've never had an acupuncture treatment. Although I keep telling you, when I come down to Florida, you're the first person I'm coming to see. I'm going to go see Lil Barkas, and then you, because I am dying to try this. I think that it would be, I believe in it, and I love how you present yourself and how you present the aspect of healing, and I think that is something that a lot of people are just searching for. So I'm super excited for when that time comes. Hopefully, maybe we can look at September. But so I was listening in on a conversation, eavesdropping, if you will, between you and a friend of ours. This you were telling her about some questions that people ask you, some kind of zany questions. So I have them written down in this book here, and I would like to ask you a couple of them. The first one that I believe, let's see, what is it? Oh, here we are. So, first question: did you actually have to go to school for this?
Oh my goodness, I cannot believe the number of people who think that you just kind of know how to do it somehow without any training or education. It's like, what qualifications do you have to put needles in me? I suppose every state varies a little bit on their licensing requirements and such. In the state of Florida, it's a master's in Chinese medicine, and you need that. You need to graduate with that degree in order to sit for 4 state boards. The whole, continuing education credits every couple of years, like most, licensed professions do. I love that part of it. I love the continuing eds that let you get in hands-on new techniques, the laws, rules, things like that. Boring, but I'm sure everybody has to do those.
I was gonna say important though, right? Super fun, important stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, dry legal things, but
So, so when you were going to school, did you have? I mean, I think we kind of spoke about this briefly, but you said that you would, everyone would practice on one another. What was that like? go, working with other people who were also learning? How just said.
I really like the way the school kind of structures things. I mean, when you're learning acupuncture techniques and point location, yes, you practice on each other in the classroom. So either you get really good really fast or everybody hates you. But there's also an attached clinic where students can kind of work themselves up. Essentially at the beginning, your first semester, you're an observer. Basically you're stocking, doing the cleaning, little, keeping the clinic rooms usable, but you're also in there, you're watching, you're listening, you're learning, you've got your handy dandy notebook. You're not really allowed to interrupt the flow of things. You can ask questions later, but you're writing notes, watching, learning, listening, absorbing. It's like, ooh, I've never heard that before. Is this significant? And then you work your way up in responsibility. You start assisting, you start junior treating, and by the time you're in your last 2 semesters, basically you're doing everything that you would be doing on the job, except your treatment plan is approved, of course, by a licensed physician. So you're not just, guessing or doing it wrong, so to speak here. Yeah. They either say, yep, this looks good, go for it, or no, try again. Come back when you've got a better plan.
How big are these needles? Are they varied sizes, or are they all the same?
There is a little bit of variation in size, both in length and in gauge, which is the thickness. But even at their thickest, you can generally fit about 10 to 12 acupuncture needles inside the bore of an IV needle. Yeah.
Really? So these are thin. These are thin.
They're flexible. I've got somebody who refers to them as cat whiskers, and that's probably the most the most accurate description. It's solid, of course, but flexible. You can bend it. It's solid. It's not hollow because you're not either injecting something in or drawing something out like you would, a blood draw. It's thin enough, so, and it doesn't have a cutting edge like a beveled injection needle does. So it doesn't cut through your tissue. It just kind of parts its way through.
Oh,
Kind of pushing things aside. It just kind of makes its way in without a lot of ado. I say most people fall asleep on me, even the ones that profess to be so afraid of needles and, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? I'm so nervous. Is this going to hurt? Oh my gosh, what are you doing? They you get that first needle in, it's like, wow, that's it, it's in, what? And they settle down for a nap.
that's awesome. I did have a question. Does it hurt? But I'm imagining from what you just told me that that doesn't seem to be the case.
I mean, of course, everybody's idea of what pain is a little bit different, and sometimes they'll get kind of a okay, youch, but by the time you've said ow and finished the syllable, it kind of settled down.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. See, in my mind, I'm thinking sewing needle going in somewhere. So that definitely helps clarify it. I like cat whiskers. That's interesting. All right. I got another wacky question for you. These cat whisker needles, do you reuse them?
Absolutely not. They are just like any other needle that would be used at your dentist's office, doctors, a blood bank, a lab. Anytime you go to have, anything involving a needle, a shot, a blood draw, an IV, once the needle is used, it's basically gone into the sharps container, never to see that again, use it again, and end of story. And they come individually wrapped, pre-sterilized, just like any other needle. Maybe you don't have the opportunity to see a needle. They probably try to kind of conceal them from you at the doctor's office so you don't get too nervous looking at this long, sharp thing. But if anybody wants to see one, what it looks like, I'm always happy to unwrap a clean one and let them kind of hold it and think, oh, really? That's it? It's that small? It's that thin? Everybody's surprised that it's not, a railroad spike.
So do you, this is off the rail again. When they were doing this originally in China, was this at a point where they were developing these things with a metal or steel, or were they using, do you know what the original matter was?
Uh, they were using metal. They were also using what they had, stone, bone, wood, and of course they weren't really sterilizing things back then. I mean, they probably, who knew, it, who knew the concept of sterilizing needles? Actually, I wouldn't doubt that they cleaned them somehow. I wouldn't be surprised if they, boiled them in hot water, those kind of things. But I don't know if sterility per se was even a concept then. I mean, even here in modern medicine, it probably wasn't until, just, a little after the Civil War era where the concept that you washed your hands after coming from an autopsy and going to a delivery of a baby, just because, oh, wait a minute, there's a connection here between high mortality and not washing hands. What do you know?
Science. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, cool, very cool. I have here's another one that I thought was a really interesting question. Is acupuncture a form of occultism? And if I belong to a certain religion, can I partake in it?
Oh my goodness. It's nothing to do with any one particular religion or spirituality or anything like that. I mean, it's no more or less a religious experience than going to the dentist or the chiropractor or the podiatrist. I mean, I do have some people, as they're lying down, as they're getting the needles in, or afterwards, as it's, quiet time, sometimes they'll pray out loud or to themselves, or they'll, you know, say it's like, oh, I'm visualizing, my area of disease or pain healing, or they're praying out loud to God, or they just take a nap or listen to music. I mean, if you have a spiritual practice that you want to integrate into the healing, whether it's through prayer, meditation, visualizing, please do whatever makes you feel comfortable. I am all about what makes you feel comfortable. But if you have no religious or spiritual beliefs and you just want to, contemplate the pattern in the ceiling or listen to the music, be my guest.
Awesome. Okay. So no underground, like, I don't know, no underground capes with like needles coming out from like some horror movie, nothing like that.
Oh, no.
I bet, I'm assuming, I'm just gonna guess, you probably wear scrubs, probably like anybody else, right? For what you wear.
I do prefer scrubs simply because they have a professional look to them. They're comfortable. I know the debate rages on, as far as the wardrobe goes. Some people will wear business clothing. Some people will wear, a lab coat. I find that just a little, uncomfortable and warm and restrictive in Florida, of course. Sometimes I'll find myself, like up with one knee on the table doing some, stretching, range of motion, or something like that with a patient. And I don't want to think about doing that in heels and hose and a little pencil skirt. But, it runs the gamut, as long as, in my opinion, as long as you're clean, professional, not, not messy. It depends on the image you want to portray, I suppose.
Nice.
But I love the scrubs.
I've lived around scrubs my whole life. That's all I know. I only know scrubs.
Same.
Not like the TLC song, just the wardrobe. So when it comes to the needle placement, what is an average number? Say you've got a person coming in with something, digestive issues, moderate digestive issues. How many needles might you put in for an average case?
Well, average, I'd say 12 to 18 or so. I mean, I get people who ask every once in a while now, how many needles are in there? But that seems to be an average. I mean, I want to use as few as possible to get the job done. I mean, there's no sense in just, peppering an area with needles. It's if you try to put needles, here, there, everywhere, every tiny little thing, it's like, oh wait, they just coughed. I've got to put something in for a cough, even though that's not part of their typical presentation. I mean, it's basically like having well-directed traffic. You have your yield signs. Oh, I know to yield. Here's a turn on red. Here's a stop. Clearly marked. Oh, look, I want this exit, as opposed to a sign that says no turn on red and only turn on red and stop and go at the same time. It's easy to confuse a body with just too many directions, too many signals.
I can imagine that actually makes a lot of sense. My aunt practices Reiki.
Nice.
One of the things she used to explain to me were the things about the meridians, and I'm assuming that there's probably some knowledge of meridians in Eastern medicine. I think they developed most of that anyway.
Oh,
but
yes.
but I remember, it was a direct, what was wrong at that moment was the primary focus. I don't remember much of it. It's not something that I pursued, but that makes sense to like stick to the part that's needing the most attention. That makes sense. Man, I'm so excited. I'm already prepping myself up for this. I'm more thinking like, what's my biggest ailment? What's the one that I'm going to talk about? Do you find that people come to you? Do they become regular clients? Do they come monthly, even after the initial thing that was wrong with them? Do you find that you can, as you start unlocking things, or unblocking energy flows, or I don't know exactly what you would call it in acupuncture, but as you start to unblock these things, do you notice other things start to come up, like things maybe that they've been repressing because they were so focused on, say, like pain in their back? Does that ever happen?
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I said the beauty of an acupuncture treatment, a good thorough acupuncture treatment, is it will address the whole body. And even if you're focusing on one particular thing, you'll notice improvement in other things, other areas. Like, for instance, a woman who is coming for fertility, obviously it's going to be a while before she notices the fruits of that. We have several months worth of, regulating cycle, regulating hormones, and so forth and so on. But within a few treatments, she notices that she doesn't have the allergy symptoms that she typically has. Why? Well, because we're focusing on the body, not the part. We're more than just the sum of our, pieces and parts. They're all quite interdependent and connected. And, if you heal one area, you will heal the body.
You say that as a medical professional, you have to go to your every couple of years. They have those extra courses, extra education. What is something recently, maybe in a new development in acupuncture that you learned? What was a new development in acupuncture?
Well, I'm not sure if it's so much new developments as new techniques. I mean, there are so many different styles of practice, different ways to look at things. Along the way, of course, there's what they call the traditional Chinese medicine, which is, the more the classically based systems. But along the way, there have been other acupuncturists, other acupuncture masters who have developed their own system of treating. And I like, kind of experimenting with the different systems. There are, I've branched off a little bit from the style that we've learned in school into some more modern systems that seem to get results a little faster, a little more to the point. Sometimes it's just kind of refreshing the basics. The latest class I took were strategies on treating high blood pressure, just different ways to look at it than I typically do. So it's not so much new things, but revisiting the classics.
It's been a pleasure having you on Tea Time today. I hope that you have a wonderful day. If anybody is interested, Kathy Thomas is located in Eustis, Florida, and is rearing to go. I don't know.
Happy to help, always.
All right. I'll see you. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow morning. If not, I'll see you on the flip side. Okay.
Oh yeah, Zoom time. Sounds good. We'll do it.